So, normally when I leave the TCF live morning show, if I leave angry, it's because of myself. Like I screwed something up. Like this morning, I kind of left it a little bit angry because I was on the struggle bus just to hold that show together this morning. I can't recall, though, a time where I've ever left it angry because of a hearing, but that's what happened yesterday. And I don't think any of us were overly happy with it either.
No.
So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So good evening, everybody. Welcome to Sidebar. It's good to have you all here. I'm Dan. We've got Lindsay and Ashley and Austin and Michael. Cast of thousands when you include the chat. Thousands in the chat tonight. But maybe there will be. You never know. But yeah, so this was Judge Elmore's court yesterday.
Yes.
And we had somebody, long story short, who had an unloaded weapon, but nobody knew it was unloaded. He pointed it at, was it his wife or his significant other? Do we know if they were married?
His
wife.
wife.
His wife.
Or at the
Okay.
very least, the mother of his children.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was a wife or a baby mama situation, but
Wife.
put the gun to the woman's head in front of the couple of children, pulled the trigger.
They share the same
Everybody
last
heard the
name,
click.
so I'm assuming a wife.
Okay. Pulled the trigger. And somehow this guy walked away with 2 years probation, 100 days jail, credit 50. A no contact order. That was it. And I personally am disgusted about it for many, many reasons. So I was like, hey, let's talk about this on Sidebar. And you guys were willing. So here we are.
Yep.
But I've already said how I feel about it. And we've probably got a whole lot to say. We'll probably fill the hour and keep going if we want to. So who wants to kick it off besides me?
Well, Dan, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead,
Ashley.
Mike. No, you're good.
Okay.
I
was just going to say, this is something that was so big. Dan and I talked about this even off air yesterday before our other show, because this was such an odd case for a lot of reasons. Number one, I think most obvious is anytime there's a gun crime, anytime somebody takes a gun, points it at someone, you don't ever do that unless you have intentions to use it. Obviously, that whatever his motivation at the time, whatever he was thinking at the time to do that, obviously there was some serious issues there. But I think what actually got me more is Jason Elmore, who's the judge. Normally, we talk about this. He comes down very hard on people that are into drugs and gives these guys these very harsh sentences, which we have discussed here before. Sorry, but I think that pointing a loaded firearm or a non-loaded or unloaded firearm at somebody and then having the audacity to pull the trigger, I think that is probably a way up there. If we're going to, it's as serious as cocaine or heroin or meth, and I would argue probably more so. And yet 100 days jail, credit 50, 2 years probation, no contact. No contact. Did they say how long it was? Probably for the duration of the probation, right?
So for the kids, I heard till the kids were 18 and decided if they wanted it or not. I don't know about the wife, girlfriend.
Okay, so still, I'm sorry. That just is it. That is just such an angering, just a visceral response to that from Dan, from me, I think from everybody in the chat. I just remember I was kind of doing some other things, and that when I started to hear this case, I snapped into TCF and I really focused in, and I got so distracted, and then I just talk about a letdown at the end of that case. And letdown is really being generous. Yeah, I don't know how else to feel about something like that. I mean, to me that should be that's like attempted murder.
Yeah.
Or
It's exactly
aggravated
what it is.
assault.
It is.
Yes, aggravated
attempted murder.
assault because they were in fear of death or great bodily injury or great bodily harm.
Yeah.
Same
I mean, we
thing,
should be
just-
talking about, a serious, a significant prison sentence.
Yeah.
And, in Michigan, they have lifetime probation there. I mean, maybe that's the direction you'd lean with that.
Yeah.
I don't understand this like misdemeanor level punishment for what is a very high level felony.
Well, you know what gets me, Michael? And this has happened quite a bit here at TCF, but it seems like if you didn't commit murder, you can get probation on anything. And I do not agree with that at all. And that's what irked me. Even though he didn't kill anybody, but he could have, doesn't mean that it's not serious. And they're treating it like it was like it was a misdemeanor, and it certainly isn't. The moment the trigger was pulled, the victim had every reason to believe they were going to die. That shouldn't be taken lightly at all.
No.
And the psychological trauma from that, if someone that has had a near-death experience and life flash before their eyes type of thing, that's nothing to kid about. And he's so lucky it wasn't loaded. It was only luck, or maybe the grace of God, that firearm wasn't loaded, but that does not excuse his actions whatsoever.
Well, no, but I'm more perplexed by, I don't know if he had, number one, a lawyer from the ages, like his lawyer was sent down from the heavens or came up from the hells,
Or hell.
more accurately. I've seen people in that same court or in other Michigan courts get more for theft and small time theft.
I don't get it.
I think we've seen more
crazy
time be given for an accidental discharge of a gun, reckless endangerment, stuff like that. We've certainly seen more time for someone who didn't mean to fire the loaded gun than we did for someone who, granted it wasn't loaded, he still pulled the trigger on a gun when it was held to someone's head.
Yes.
And walked away with a slap on the wrist.
Someone fell asleep behind the wheel of their car, a clear accident, and got significantly more time than this.
And with the children involved, wouldn't they be an aggravating factor in the situation? I would think
You would think.
You would think.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Well,
since it's not an aggravated factor, I don't understand what they were thinking and why he got so little time. I'm trying to wrap my brain around it, but I still can't figure it out, even after rewatching it.
And I think you and I talked about this very briefly in the chat during the case, Dan, but it was a no contest and it was a plea. He was taking a deal.
That was the other thing.
And it's how on earth did this even get to that point?
Yeah, I was actually going to comment.
Was it avoiding a trial? I don't think it should have been avoided.
No.
I mean,
That's what I was going to comment on. I was absolutely shocked that Elmore accepted this deal.
Yeah.
And furthermore, he accepted it as a no contest plea and then allowed the defendant to get up there and say how sorry he was for what he had done. That's not compatible with a no contest plea.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. You're right, Dan. I didn't put the two and two together, but you're right
There
about
was a lot of dancing around. They kept
Yeah.
looking to the lawyer to say what I can and cannot say. And I think a few things still slipped out that lawyer really... But
Yes.
there's more
So-
to this story that wasn't being revealed in that courtroom that I'm dying to know.
Yeah. So
Yep.
Wahoo asked real quick for confirmation on the sentence. So it was 2 years probation, Wahoo, a 100-day jail sentence, credit 50. So he serves 50 days and then 2 years of probation.
Yes. And then
Yeah.
the no contact for the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Greg
That was
Graney
that was
says-
probably one of the more striking things for me is in all three of those victim impact statements, they all made it very clear that they want absolutely nothing to do with him.
Yes.
I don't
Do
blame
not
him.
nip the no contact. Leave us alone. We don't want you in our lives.
I don't
Great
blame him. It's so
Granny made a
traumatizing.
good point.
Yeah.
Great Granny makes a good point. She says the daughter stated he put the gun to her head too.
Right.
Yeah, child
I
endangerment.
think it was the wife and all the kids.
Yeah.
Sorry,
It's
Ashley,
child
I didn't mean to-
endangerment. It's like it should have been. It should have been added on to the charges. Is what it should have been.
Yep.
But
Well, yeah, we talk so often about, piling on charges and sometimes needlessly piling on charges. This is one case where there were, not only were there not needlessly piled, there weren't any charges piled on, and there should have been. If we're talking about, if the purpose of the justice system is to get justice, if it is to rehabilitate, but it is also to punish, it is also to do to protect the public, and do so in a way that would serve the interest of justice. I mean, I don't think you can say that any of that was done here, especially when someone is allowed, as Dan mentioned, to plead no contest. And what no contest means is, yeah, in terms of punishment, you're still getting the same punishment theoretically as if you pled guilty. But what you're saying is, I don't agree. I don't admit that I'm guilty. I'm just not fighting the charge.
Right.
I'm not contesting it. So how can you actually, plead that you're responsible and say that you did this, and at the same time go, well, actually, I'm not saying I did. I'm not saying I didn't. I'm just not fighting it.
Well, apparently, Michael, they pointed a gun at themselves. So.
Well, I don't know. This is one of those things where somebody had a gun held to them to accept this plea. That's the thing I'm more perplexed at than any of this. Judge Elmore, and again, we've seen every single judge make weird calls, and it happens. It doesn't make them a terrible judge. Judge Elmore, I think, is always very level-headed and, talks things out and is very thorough. And, I always joke that, if you're a drug offender, you're done, in his court. But apparently
he was.
Yeah. So, but that was, and that's the other thing is I'm so at a loss for how this is a justified thing. And, we can always go back and speculate and say, oh, somebody should have gotten this and somebody should have gotten that. And how could you do this? And that's a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking. But this is one of those times where I just think justice failed here.
Yes.
And
the other thing that's kind of blowing me away about this, and sorry if I've seen a little distracted in the last few minutes, but I was just double checking something. So I for those that maybe are watching that don't watch often, I'm from the area where this case happened. They put everything in the news there. There's not a word about this on any of the local news sites. Not a word.
Interesting.
Yeah, so
there's every other case imaginable called on here. I mean, drug busts and all the kind of other small town news, but not a word about this. So
is his family name like Big in Cadillac or something?
No, and they said they were from downstate.
Do they own the Big Boy or something?
North. They were from downstate and moved up north.
I'm so perplexed by this.
This guy like an oligarch or something? What is going on? The diplomatic immunity?
I can't believe the court put the defendant's rehabilitation over public safety. This is a public safety issue. Like that guy pointed the gun for some reason, and that might happen again. Because I don't know what caused that. I don't know if they even talked about that. I mean, it's one thing to be stressed, but it's another thing to point a gun at somebody. But I'm guessing there's maybe a mental issue in play. I'm not sure. But yeah, I can't believe they put his rehabilitation over public safety. I think it should have been a lot longer sentence and then strict probation afterwards. But That's just how I feel like it should have been. I don't know any other way around it. Unless he's a major guru or something, I'm not sure. But according to what Lindsay said, I don't think so either. So I don't know.
I'd never heard that name before. I think I even asked, like, can someone double check what his name is? I want to watch. And
yeah,
not a word.
Very strange. This is why sometimes, you know, people do have a misplaced or a lost faith in the justice system, because they'll see cases like this and they wonder, well, how did that happen? And, you know, somebody else will have a charge similar to this or even a lesser crime, and they get the book thrown at them. And, you know, this is one of those cases where I just don't know. I can't really solve for X on this, I guess, is my problem. I mean, that, you know, what kind of message does it send to the community? What kind of message does it send to the family? Because I'll tell you, if I was part of this family, I would have to think, what just happened? Okay, no contact, but a no contact order is just something on a piece of paper. And if somebody is willing to point a gun at somebody and do that, do you think a no contact order really is keeping you safe?
Right. And I said this in the chat to Dan as well, that just because they didn't die doesn't mean he doesn't get a harsh sentence because they didn't suffer significant injuries and stuff like that. I totally don't agree. I feel like the defense was saying that. The defense was making the argument that because they didn't suffer any injuries from the incident, that it wasn't that serious. And I know the defense attorney is trying to do his job. I get that. And I think it's the only thing that he has to go off of. But I just, that
defense attorney gets a gold star, I'll tell you that. I mean, if that's not an advertisement for his law firm or his representation.
Yeah.
This whole situation is broken from so many different angles. You know, an armed robber will get more time than this guy got for never pulling a trigger.
Yeah.
This guy pulled a trigger and he's getting a slap on the wrist. And that's all this is. It's a slap on the wrist. And this case is broken from so many angles. If allow me to get on my soapbox for a moment, but one of the angles where it's really broken for me as unapologetically pretty much a 2A absolutist. Arm up, everybody. That's where I'm at with it. But you have to be responsible. And one of the things that you have to understand and you have to abide by is you always treat your firearm like it's loaded.
Yep.
Full disclosure, there's one in the drawer next to me. I know it is unloaded, but what am I going to do if I pull it out of that drawer? I'm going to make sure it's clear.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because even though I know I touched it last, I know its status, I'm going to check it again anyways. And even being unloaded, I will not point that thing at anything that I am not willing to destroy. Period. End of discussion. Because you have to treat firearms with that level of care, with that level of thoughtfulness, because if you pull that trigger and it is loaded, you will destroy whatever you're aiming at. That's the purpose of the weapon.
Yep.
Is to destroy things. So I can't wrap my brain around him putting the gun at somebody's head, pulling the trigger, loaded or not, and not being charged with an attempt at murder.
Ag assault, something. I can't with everything
Remind me
going
what he
on
was
with
actually
this.
charged with. Like, what was the?
Well, I think they pled it down to basically disturbing the peace based on what he got.
Yeah.
But I think it started out as some kind of assault charge.
I think it's aggravated assault. Yeah.
I believe it started as aggravated assault.
And even that is way too light.
Yep.
Yeah, it's attempted murder.
It really is.
Yep.
It is.
I didn't catch it. until
If
I
you're
watched
trying to shoot somebody and you do not kill them, that's attempted murder. That's the definition of what attempted murder is.
Well, and of course the defense will argue, well, I was just trying to scare them. Well, there's a lot of people that
doesn't make it better.
I know. There's a lot of people though that will do pranks and somebody dies. Let's look at the situation,
Georgia.
Ashley, in your home state of Georgia.
Yes.
With the kid that we've covered,
Mm-hmm.
who him and some of his buddies from the senior class went and TP'd this teacher's home. Teacher comes out to quote unquote get them because the teachers were in on the game too. He trips, falls in the road, gets run over.
Mm-hmm.
And now the teacher is dead and the kid is facing a felony charge.
Exactly.
So as you know, as he
I
probably
did hear
should.
that they declined to press charges.
Pardon me?
I think I did hear that they declined to press charges. It's not going through. The wife said,
Really?
I don't want to press
Well,
charges.
The wife said that, but last I knew the state was still looking at it. I'm gonna have to research that.
Okay.
Wow.
Because it's not
that'd be
just up to the
something.
wife.
Yeah, but there's at least a chance that kid who participated in a prank where someone died will, if they do get charged, almost certainly will get more time than this
And
guy.
that was unintentional.
Almost certainly.
And that was unintentional, and this was totally intentional. And
It's a willful act.
I'm surprised they didn't order a competency hearing for this guy, because if he could have claimed that he wasn't in his right mind, and that's one thing.
I think
That's
they
one.
were trying some kind of claim with that because apparently he was on high levels of painkillers because of a service
Yes.
injury. So they were kind of playing into the I was struggling with pain and pain pill addiction, and this is how everything compounded.
Okay.
But I agree. I think there should have been some kind of hang on. What's going on here? Exam.
It doesn't make sense.
The whole thing is just bizarre.
My God, I am so tired of excuses.
I know.
Yeah.
I just am. I'm sorry, but I just no. Well, I had to put the gun to her head because I just wasn't feeling fresh this morning. I mean, what the hell?
I mean,
I don't care what your problems are. It doesn't excuse your bad behavior.
And it doesn't sound like it was like, oh, everything was, little bunnies hopping in the forest and sunshine and roses, and all of a sudden dad's got a gun to mom's head. It's like, it sounds like there had been kind of a buildup of threatening and abusive behavior that
I think they were
culminated.
They were going to divorce. Is it that?
Yep.
Wasn't that the thing? Yeah, they were going through a divorce.
I didn't catch whether or
I
not.
think.
I know they discussed that
They are
moving
now, at least.
up north. Moving up north to
They're
Cadillac was
definitely
supposed
going
to
to
be
now.
some kind of like reset for the family, and sounded like it made things much worse.
Right.
I mean, think about moving across the state to an area where you don't really know anybody. Everyone's kind of isolated now.
Yep.
Yeah, there's
and
not a
that's
whole lot going on there.
Right.
Not
It's
exactly
kind of
a thriving
it's
economy.
also a DA case too, because that's thinking about that, Lindsay, if they were having trouble anyway, and that and maybe they've been rough with each other before, maybe that would be another charge he would probably get too. I don't know.
Who is this guy, and how did he get this attorney, and why is there nothing on the internet about him?
Yep.
It's the thing I
like a
thought of
cover-up.
is is this like some kind of a mob situation?
They
Like, is this guy
mentioned he had a
connected?
thriving business.
Oh,
That's all that was said. He was a successful businessman.
Hey, Tony, listen, I got a little problem here. I need you
That's
to
just it.
come down to the courthouse and take
Do
care
we
of it
remember
for me.
his name?
Mitchell Kirshner?
Yes.
yes. Mm-hmm.
Don't worry, Mr. Kirshner, I got you covered.
Ashley, do you have the spelling?
I think I've got it.
Mitchell, M-I-T-C-H. Yeah.
I must do this for you today. On this, the day of my daughter's wedding.
Kirshner is with a C, I think.
Oh.
Kirchner.
ER or NER. Yep. And then the one thing, and I'm not sure I heard it right. I want to go back and listen again, but as they were discussing it, all the different points for the charge levels, it sounded like there was a bunch of stuff that did not make it into the PSI about him pointing it at the kids, basically, and how they were scared.
Yeah.
That was apparently not in the PSI. Yeah. And today, or the day of the hearing, was the first day that Judge Elmore heard anything about that.
Yeah.
I would have stopped right there and been like, okay, we're figuring something out.
Yeah, we're going to postpone this to a later
what I have does not meet what's on this paper.
Yeah, this would have been, a lot of other judges would have absolutely used that and said, thrown the switch on that. Judge West, Judge Boyd would have, they all would have stopped right there. Judge Collada, all of them.
So I hate to go all conspiracy theory, but you are right, Lindsay. There is nothing out there on this guy.
Nothing.
I mean, it is like he's a ghost. He does not exist. And that's like nobody nowadays. Google anybody, you're going to find something.
It's in Michigan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I cannot find Jack on this guy.
Almost anytime we see something in Judge Elmore's court, I check
nope.
2 local news sites to my hometown. And usually I can find something and I'll fire it over to Dan to talk about on a pre-show or talk on one of these. And there's not a word.
Interesting.
This is insane.
Yeah.
There's got to be something going on here then. This is one of those...
I even ran it through Perplexity and it can't find any information.
TCF, the conspiracy files.
Yeah.
Well, that's a spinoff, perhaps. It'd probably do well.
Probably would.
No,
what?
This is more broken than I thought it was. As we get into this discussion, it has to be. It just has to be, because of all of the flaws in this, all the things that he could have been charged with. I mean, besides like assault or whatever, domestic violence. You could probably throw terrorism in there,
family violence,
child
terrorism,
endangerment.
Yep.
I mean,
I said, there's charges upon charges.
Right. Yep. Unlawful handling of a firearm.
Yep.
Jaywalking. I mean,
throw
it all in there. But it doesn't seem like that's what was happening. He pled down to virtually nothing, does a no contest plea, and then proceeds to talk about how sorry he is for what he did. The judge going, okay.
Yep.
None of this is right.
It was wrong from the very beginning.
The next case, a guy comes in with half an ounce of meth, and Elmore sentences him to 88 years. This guy... I mean, that's why whenever I see a case like this, and we've seen a few of them here on TCF that are, on the sliding scale of egregious, from marginally all the way up to, taking the guy out to the Sizzler afterwards. But even the guy that went out to the Sizzler afterward, I mean, even that guy, I think got more like,
yeah. This is worse than the Sizzler for me. This might be the worst we've seen.
Yep.
Because that guy was like looking at images on a computer, child images, which is like really, really bad. And I don't want to minimize how bad that is. But dude took a loaded firearm to multiple people. I'm sorry, a non-loaded, but... Or maybe it could have been loaded and it just jammed or didn't fire. Who knows? Right? I mean, we don't actually know that for sure. We just know that he pointed it, and when it clicked, it just didn't fire. So we don't know what the circumstances are behind that. And then the guy, doesn't want to take full responsibility.
Yeah.
And gets the best deal of anybody I have ever heard in the history of ever. of any criminal justice situation. They don't even give mob guys this kind of stuff. I mean, you know, other than maybe some, you know, some people go to WITSAC or something, but I mean, like, generally speaking. And that's why I always, whenever I see stuff like this, I joke about someone being connected, but that's about the, you know, that or somebody in high level in government where you can just do whatever you want to do and you just keep right on going. You keep being the senator or the, you know, whatever, you know, it happens.
Have been connected. With this fact set, with all the things he could have been charged with a judge who is generally pretty stern, understanding. Yes. I do believe he's understanding. I do believe he wants people to rehabilitate, but he's generally very stern, especially when there are drugs involved, because he's the one who I agree with, where he always says drugs are not a victimless crime. This was proof of it. If this guy was actually abusing pain meds or whatever. Yeah.
And he's detail oriented, Dan.
Yeah.
He, you know, just like we talk about Middleton, I mean, but Judge Elmore talks these cases out in great detail. Sometimes painfully so. Some people will be like, maybe they think that he's too detailed, but he talks it out. This one, yeah, he did to a degree. But I then after all of that, to come to this conclusion is the weirdest resolve to a case I have seen in all the time I've consumed court here, or casually growing up. You know, I haven't been this perplexed since the OJ verdict, and even that I understood because that was a jury verdict where they just didn't believe the prosecution's credibility, you know, or whatever situation you want to attribute that to. But I mean, that was at least a jury. This wasn't a trial. This was just all right, here's our agreement. Accepted, Judge? Sure, why not? Seems great.
I think I might have his spelling wrong on his name because I'm looking it up in Me Court, Dan, and I can't find his name in Wexford County. So that means I probably has his name misspelled somewhere. But just
All right, well, keep trying to look, but
I'll keep looking.
This is just the most perplexing.
But between all of us, and then, you know, Lindsay looking this up and Dan looking this up, and
find anything on him.
And we've seen other cases in Elmore's court that show up in you know, the local news up there. And yeah, you're right. Lindsay has sent over information about other cases, and this would be a pretty big one.
From
so
yeah, you know, I'm so.
Do we know?
Do we? By this.
You know, there's just a lot of things. There's so many things we don't know, and so whatever you don't know, obviously, you know, the human instinct is to start filling in, you know, the conspiracy theories. But what else do you have when ordinarily this is how something would be handled, or even if somebody was a first-time offender and, you know, they were 70 years old and never did anything wrong in their whole life, you know, still people are, we've seen deferred adjudication before on, in, I believe it's Judge Stevens' court. I saw deferred on like an involuntary manslaughter or something, you know?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Now, you can say that's a lesser punishment, but really is it? Because involuntary manslaughter usually suggests somebody might have been reckless, but overall, they generally speaking, you know, it doesn't rise to the level of like a premeditation, or where a death was an easily foreseeable outcome that somebody deliberately ignored, those kinds of things. And deferred adjudication, if you screw up, you can go and do the time. This is just, well, you get 50 days.
Did we get a case number?
I can probably look at that. 1 second.
You see, y'all are seeing the research in real time.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? That's
Lindsay
I
and
kind of
Ashley have
thought
buds.
that's
Violence.
where this was going to go tonight because there's so much weird about all of this.
Yeah.
You know, the guy was former military. I'm honestly wondering if he didn't graduate into CIA or something.
Oh.
Because and I know that's conspiracy theory, whatever. I get it, but damn it. There's no news on this. The guy put a gun to the head of his wife and pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
Yep.
And children.
And there's nothing.
Oh, it's Mitchell Jeffrey Wilson, I think.
What?
Hold on.
I did find a Kirshner who was a lawyer in Michigan, so maybe we got names twisted.
Well, maybe they already do. I don't know. Hold on.
I thought in the victim impact statements they were saying her name is
Kirshner.
such and such.
Their last names were all Kirshner.
Yeah. Let me double check.
I thought Wilson was the attorney.
Well,
No.
searching Wilson doesn't pull up any news either.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's the answer to find anything. But you know, I'm wondering honestly on this as we continue to explore it, if there wasn't some strings pulled behind the scenes. There almost has to have been. It's like going back to the Sizzler guy in Stevens court, where we saw that in real time. Stevens was working on his sentence, and then all of a sudden he's like, excuse me. He goes off camera, comes back a completely different person, and slaps the kid on the wrist.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know,
you know, we've seen it a few times before, but never to this extent.
No.
Especially given the facts of the case.
Yeah, I'm probably just repeating myself at this point, but I'm just that perplexed by it.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, Dan, is, you know, this is one of those that I realize it's very repetitive maybe to some people, but when I look at everything that goes on here, there's just no explanation that makes sense. And I'm sure other than some conspiracy crap, but in this case, maybe it's not conspiracy crap at all. It's got to be, there has to be something more to the story. And it may not come out for a long time, but at some point there has to be some kind of an investigation into what went on here. And I'm also amazed, now I know this just happened, but I'm also amazed that the media, who would normally pick up on something like this, and I mean, what better rage bait is there than this, than to go out and have a big story about it. And so far, again, this is fresh, but so far, no such story has surfaced.
Up North Live is the name of the broader news site for that area. Loves themselves a good evening news kickoff with something that happened in court.
Well, you read us the blotter every Friday for that area, Lindsay. Well, same idea. We're in the vicinity, but my point is, there's not so much going on up there that they can afford to ignore the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree.
You know, this is not like an everyday occurrence.
Yeah. I mean, a couple weeks ago, I didn't bring it up in here, but there was a drunk driving case where guy had too many at the bar, ran into another car coming home. 2 folks from downstate died. It was front page news. It was top of the headlines. It was right as things kicked off when you watched the news that night. Like, so if something like this happens, it's big, capital B, capital N news. So the fact that there's nothing.
So in the case, in the trial, the defense claimed significant rehabilitation already on Mr. Kirshner's behalf. And no, I don't have a case number, Lindsay, but I'm just looking at what the defense claimed, and it looks like he had significant rehabilitation already, and no behavioral issues in jail.
Well, whoopee fucking do.
Exactly.
Because he knows we'll snap on him.
Pin a medal on the guy and set him free.
But yeah,
a donation to Judge Elmore's re-election campaign if you don't think she's up again until 2028. So what does that even matter?
I can just hear the Chris Farley, well, Lottie freaking da!
If I'm swearing on my stream, you know I'm fed up.
I'm right there with you, Dan. I'm ready to just
It was also
So,
his first case.
the next question is, and the obvious question is justice really blind? Are there times where somebody gets preferential treatment? And I'm not just talking about, politicians that or people that never get charged with crimes, but I mean people that have been charged and are in the court system. This, begs the question, how fair is the justice that we're getting? Are there multi-levels of justice? And I think we've talked about that to a degree on Sidebar before. And I think, unfortunately, this is gonna be a major piece of ammo or evidence over into the category of, there's different tiers of justice.
I mean, I was thinking on this because I rewatched the case right before we hopped on, and it's like, if that wasn't a relatively put together, I'm guessing fairly affluent businessman with a military history, if this was, all my love to the lovely folks of Wexford County, if this is your stereotypical family from Wexford County that's got a trailer parked on 5 sandy acres, is Judge going to be quite so kind? If this is some of those folks that we see where, mom and dad had a rap sheet and the kid's been in and out of the system and, if this wasn't an affluent businessman from downstate who moved up north, is this going to be a much different scenario? And I think the answer is yes.
Yeah, dude had connections or money or both. And at the end of the day, it would seem to continue to hold true that everybody has their price. It would seem everybody can be bought for a certain number. You just have to figure out what the number is, or you've got dirt on them and you're buying their loyalty with the dirt. One of those has to have happened here. Because none of it otherwise makes sense based on everything we know about how Elmore handles his courts, about similar assaultive kind of stuff that happens and that he sees in front of him, about how the DA there charges things and the deals they will or will not make. We've watched a lot of Elmore on this channel, and I've taken a lot of heat because of that goddamn keyboard. but we watch Elmore's court anyways because I find him to be very instructive because he's very thoughtful. It's good court to watch. So we've got good game film on him. This matches none of the game film.
Right.
Yeah. Mikey just offered up. I live in a big military town, have seen big stories kept quiet to protect people.
Mikey, I have no doubt.
Yeah.
I have no doubt, my friend.
And that's where we're at with this. That's why it was so bizarre. And that's why all of us are having a hard time properly articulating just how strange it is. It's kind of like, you watching a train wreck and then trying to describe it in a way that makes sense when you've just seen it. And even that would be easier to describe than this because, again, it's so far out of the norm and out of how many thousands of cases have all of us put together watched here and just on LawTube in general, and through our whole lifetime before LawTube, just growing up, court TV and local cases and, understanding of what about the court system and stuff like this, which is rare, but every once in a while there's a case like this that turns everything that you think about the justice system upside down. Look, Dan and I have talked extensively about how screwed up family court is. That's a whole different kettle of fish than this, but
it's a whole separate channel, Michael.
Right, it would be, but this is very family court-esque in that the decision made absolutely no sense and didn't serve justice one friggin' bit.
I also can't find anything.
And there's no logic to it.
Yeah.
The only logic was no contact. That's the only part that they got right was, no contact. Neat.
Yeah. Yep. And we've all pointed out you can walk right through a no contact order.
Well,
something about everything about that guy's demeanor says the kid's telling him, I don't want anything to do with you. The court's saying stay away. This guy's going to push it.
The best way to have no contact, though, is to keep somebody like that behind bars for 50 years.
Yeah.
And, that's not my first reaction in a lot of cases, but in this kind of a case, and the other problem is, what else it says to the community is, it just stirs up all the hornets' nests from all the advocacy groups and everybody that will say, see, that's why we need fewer guns. And, everything is always, and it's hard to argue when somebody gets away with a gun crime like this. It's like, it just, it fuels all the rage out in the community from people that say the system has become too soft or it's become too, and I don't generally agree with that statement, by the way. I think in general, I even though it moves extremely slowly and we get frustrated by a lot of things we see in the courts, I do think that overall, this is a very broad statement. There's a lot of exceptions to this rule, but I would say overall, a lot of the criminal justice that we see here, and I can't speak for all of it, but what we see here from the courts that we watch is generally pretty good. I made a lot of qualifiers there, but
Yeah.
It's really good until it's not, and then it's really, really, really
and then
bad.
it's
really, really bad.
Did this guy,
Yep.
even though it was, did he lose his ability to appeal with the plea?
Yeah.
Yes.
He would have to.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
He would have to obtain permission. Barbara, thank you for the 5, by the way.
Okay.
Thank you, Barbara.
I was just wondering that, are we going to see this come back around because this?
Unless it was an illegal sentence, it's done.
Okay.
Yeah, it is an illegal sentence.
Yeah.
In his favor.
Yep.
It's like,
yeah.
I want to appeal it as a viewer, as a member of the public.
Yeah.
Oh, me too.
I want an oversight done. And I'll tell you, I can't help but just have those conspiracy thoughts, but I'll, look, at the risk of sounding like a kook, but I don't know how else are you supposed to feel about that? And again, we can bring up a few examples, but even the examples that we bring up aren't really quite the same. I'm really trying to think hard because we've seen some crazy stuff that we've even talked about here.
Yeah.
The closest thing is deferred on where somebody dies, but again, deferred adjudication is okay. Yes, technically speaking, you're not getting punished, but if you screw up on a 10-year deferred, which is very easy to do, you could be looking at significant time. If you make it through, then no conviction goes on your record and it's like it didn't happen. But even that, I think
I have a feeling he's going to mess up. For sure.
Is it going to matter?
But it's only 2 years probation. 2 years is and
That's true.
And I don't know if he can get off early for doing whatever. I don't know if that's part of it in Michigan, or at least if that's part of it in this particular case or not. But
I don't think there's nothing read into the record about early. I can't remember the word they used.
Early termination.
Early completion. I think it all had to be completed. I honestly think where he's going to trip up is going to be that no contact.
Yep.
And I have a sick feeling in the pit of my stomach that it's going to end with one of those folks that he's been asked not to contact no longer being on this planet.
I didn't want to go there, Lindsay, but I completely agree.
Yeah.
It's a morbid thought, but it's a true thought, though.
Yeah. I mean,
No,
I
that-
say
I mean-
it, but like that's
It's a real
where
concern.
Judge Elmore potentially left us with this decision.
Okay, so now this jogs a memory. So Michelle, she watched a case a while ago about a guy that had been arrested many times, and this is the case where a guy, I guess, goes on a subway or on a bus or something. I can't remember what it was. If it was some mass transit system, I think it was a bus. And he stabs some lady and kills her. And this is a dude that had been arrested just many, many times before. Tons of mental health issues. Judge didn't, the last time he was before the judge, they let him out on basically nothing. And, it's something like that egregious.
Yeah.
And whenever I think of a case like this, that's what I go to, is that, or there was another one where somebody poured some gasoline on them and set them on fire, and that person had been arrested like 50 times before, and that's not even hyperbole.
Wasn't that a subway thing?
That was.
Subway?
Yeah.
Yes, that was.
That's the thing, is like every one of these, horrific stories that we hear, there's always the first case. There's always the first thing they did. And I think, unfortunately for this guy, I think we're all watching in real time his first case.
Yeah.
Right.
I think we're going to see him back for something else.
And then, what happens? And then everyone will always point back to the judge and go, how does the judge allow that to happen? And, Judge Boyd always says this. Judge Boyd goes, well, if I were to allow this to continue and not, and if I were to just let you go on probation and something happens, they're going to come back and say, how does that judge do this? She'll bring that up when she decides not to allow someone to be on probation or deferred.
And he was above the guidelines too, which
right,
even worse.
Every box was checked.
Yep.
Everything was checked for this guy to be packing his bags for a long-term stay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't get it.
So that's
But
why
somehow it
this
didn't
case was so
make it
weird.
Into the
Well, that's one of the reasons why.
Well,
The reasons are countless.
yeah, I
How
don't even
could
know
you
if we've
hold a
gotten to
gun
all of them,
against
but
your wife and children on a humane level too is something.
How can you do that to your wife and children and expect that they'd want to see you again?
No,
Yeah.
just walk away.
well, I'm sorry, man. It's really sorry. Just want to say I'm sorry. By the way, no contest.
You all know how much I love Beth. I think I've been pretty clear on that on this channel.
Oh yeah.
If her or I ever even sniffed that point, we would walk away from each other.
No.
Because at some point your love for somebody has to be strong enough to go, you know what, this is not good for either of us, and because I love you, I'm out. It's that whole if you love something, give it away thing.
Let's set it free. Yeah.
Also
Yep.
being the bigger person, all that.
Well-
And that's why I was dying to read more. Like what else was there? Like we just get this one story this one night. Like I want the build up. I want the backstory. There's
lore.
more to it. And that's
Yeah.
what's killing me. It's like you don't just go, oh, we're a happy family from downstate moving up north to fulfill our dreams of living up north, and suddenly dad's got a gun to mom's head. Like it doesn't go that way.
No.
Well, it's,
Yeah.
but instead it's been redacted like Epstein level.
Yeah.
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 I
Really
kind of.
Personalized.
It has. Yeah.
You know,
this is like.
A couple of you have mentioned what'll happen if he screws up. I don't know that anything will happen. He's connected. He has
I don't know
to
if
be.
we'll hear about it.
Yeah, well, we're not hearing about this.
Right. I mean,
Thank heavens I captured it, because quite honestly, Elmore doesn't keep his videos forever. It's
I
probably
know.
gone already.
My God.
right. It'll get scrubbed from the records, and then who knows?
Well,
Some
apparently
mysterious letter will come via YouTube to you, Dan, and the video will disappear.
I was just about to say, how long before I get some kind of formal or informal letter?
Listen, Mr. Soul,
I can't
we
find the
wanna-
court
that
record
video's
either.
gotta disappear off your channel.
During this, so this record can stand.
Yes.
Well,
Come at me,
between that and the DoorDash guy who said he was kind enough not to
Press
prosecute
charges.
me, press
Yes.
charges.
Oh my gosh, Dan! I want to be a fly on the wall in that conversation.
Now,
Mhm.
You should record
I mean,
it.
that guy,
No, don't record
that
it.
guy, I don't think got nearly enough of a punishment either. He was just disrespectful to the court.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of guys that didn't quite get the punishment that I felt they deserved, maybe, or maybe sometimes they got too much. But I mean, there's a difference between, oh, I felt somebody should have gotten 15 years and they got 10, versus somebody that I felt should have had 20 years or 40 years or 50 years and got no years. They got 50 days. Like, there's a huge. That's the big difference for me. I don't know. I'm just so at
all
a
I can hope
loss.
for is that Mr. Kirshner is about to have the worst 50 days of his life.
Karma.
There's someone in that Wexford County jail that's just gonna do just enough to not get themselves in trouble. But just remind that guy what a POS he is.
Yeah. Well,
I'm sorry, Vindictive Lizzie came out to play right there.
No, I'm right there with you.
I mean,
Lindsay, you mentioned he was from out of state. He didn't say what state he came from.
He was from, downstate, so southern Michigan.
Oh, never mind. Okay.
Downstate. It's
That's
the
weird.
term us folks from up north use to describe
Sorry.
the southern part of Florida.
Downstate. Okay, got it.
So think more like Judge Middleton.
Yeah,
That
Judge
would
Middleton.
be down. That would be downstate.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
I might be looking the wrong. No, it's his first case, so he wouldn't be in any other records. Darn it.
Well, is it his first case?
Yeah. Yeah,
They
no,
meant-
no
It's a very
prior
good
offenses,
question,
apparently.
and I can definitively
So they
say,
say.
absolutely not.
So they say.
It was like Russian, Italian, a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Well,
Hey, sometimes you gotta get more than one group involved. You know what I'm saying? Lots of different things. A lot of moving parts here. This guy was, did a lot of things. You know what I mean? Forget about it. No, really, forget about it, or else.
He might be Sicilian.
He's got that little orange card that we all wanted in Monopoly
Yeah,
to get out of
Nice.
jail
get
free
out of
card.
jail free card.
Mhm.
he's got a pile of them apparently.
Yeah.
It's gonna cost you one get out of jail free card. That's all.
Well,
Don't worry
I
about
am
it.
more intrigued by this whole thing now that we've
Yeah.
talked about it than before we talked about it.
yeah, we not only solved nothing per our normal arrangement, we came up with more questions.
Yeah.
The
So-
answers.
Well, and this is
might
one
be
that
the perfect show for us now.
Yeah, this is one that I don't. The only thing we may have solved, is concluded that some very underhanded thing went on here, which may or may not be true, but all signs point to something very creepy or ick. The ick is all over this case.
Yes.
So as
Hey,
we're close to wrapping up, let me ask you guys this.
Yeah.
Put a percentage on something shady went down here. Michael?
Nothing's 100s. I would say 97%.
Wow, strong. Austin?
85% something went down.
Ashley?
Conservative 70%.
Lindsay?
82%.
And I'm about 90. So call us conspiracy theorists if you want. Think we're crazy. I don't care. That's 5 of us sitting here who have just spent the last hour picking this thing apart. We watched it. Wahoo in the
Researched
comments,
it.
he's at 88. Something stinks about this whole thing. It just has to.
Yes.
And off topic, but I wanted to recognize that Barbara, thank you for the compliment. Dan, the DoorDash guy, could never have handled you. No way. I really
agree.
wish he would have shown up today. I extended
Oh,
the
that would have
invitation.
been so funny.
That would have been so great.
You would only seen like half of his head, but
I can debate half a head. Most people act like they have half a brain anyways, so whatever.
Well, there you go.
All right. So, yeah, I don't know if we can do anything more with this topic except keep coming up with more questions. So, because we're at the top of the hour, maybe we should call it a day.
Yep.
But any final thoughts, Ashley?
I'm gonna keep on researching, try to find this dude, but he has disappeared from the face of the earth, it seems. But maybe he'll pop up. But yeah, I don't know what Elmore was thinking that day. It kind of reminds me of that Simpson case that we watched that was kind of shady. Was it? No. Stephen's case that was shady. When he had to step away and came back with a verdict that we were not expecting. So it kind of reminded me of that a little bit. So I don't know.
Doppelganger came out.
Yeah.
I may have found another police blotter for us.
Ooh.
Who's that? What kind of police blotter?
So the Cadillac News. Cadillac apparently has its own little local paper, and they have a few local police.
I wonder if this
Nice.
guy's in it.
I may be onto something. I do have to remind myself I have to leave in 15 minutes to go to the airport, so I can't go too much further here.
All right. Austin, final thoughts.
Something shady went on, and I'm definitely doing more research.
Fair.
I
Michael?
want to figure this out.
Yeah, this is one where, this is Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is probably the correct one, and the simplest explanation is something very weird, unexplained, very shady went down. That's where I'm at. And again, I put it at about 97% chance that is indeed what happened.
Lindsay.
CadillacNews.com just got a new subscriber.
Nice. That's a good final thought.
Yes.
Positive thought.
So I went into this mad at the whole situation, mad at the defendant, mad at how horribly he got sentenced. Now I'm kind of mad at corruption and the potential for it, because I don't have any other answer for this other than corruption at some level. And it bothers me because of all of the judges we watched, I would have put Elmore at the top of the list of straight shooters somebody could trust. And the fact that he didn't reject this plea outright, just saying, no, I'm not going to do this. It makes me question him now. I'm not happy about that.
Yeah.
It clearly wasn't incompetence.
No.
Yep.
No.
Other cases we've seen with him, one little sentence is off in the PSI, and he's like, okay, we're stopping. This one, the whole PSI seemed to be off, or the majority of it seemed to be off, and just kept right on going.
Yep. Alrighty, well, I think those are our thoughts then for tonight, my friends. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much for stopping by and spending your evening with us. If you had fun doing this, come back on Thursday, because Thursday is the last Thursday of the month. That means you control things, chat. You tell us what to talk about. So do be back for that, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We'll be back live tomorrow morning on this channel, 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific, a half an hour early for channel members, which means I start the show before the sun even comes up here. So join us for that. In the meantime, go have yourselves a good evening. Again, thanks for joining us. Take care. God bless.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Have a
Thank
good night.
you.
Well, I was going to use my outro screen, but it's gone. So
Uh-oh.
bye. We're just going to stop the
Bye.
stream.
Bye.